Okay, is everybody awake? That's more for me than for you. I come from far away. But thank you all for being here. It's now we can talk about growing up empowered. We can talk about human digital enhancement. And we can talk about I can, I choose, and I accomplish. I'm Marc Prensky. And I'm thrilled to be back again in beautiful Croatia, in Rovinj. Last year, I got to go to Split, I got to see Dubrovnik, I got to see Zagreb, and now here I am in beautiful Rovinj. Thank you to Carnet and to everybody in Croatia for inviting us to this beautiful, beautiful place. Now, today is not my birthday. I've had some very nice birthdays when I spoke. I once spoke in the presidential palace in India, and they baked me a birthday cake. But sadly, it's not my birthday today. But it is somebody's birthday, and I want to introduce my son, Sky. Come on up, Sky. Today is Sky's 18th birthday. And he gets to celebrate it in Rovinj, Croatia. Lucky him. Sky is about to graduate from high school in California, and he's going to take what we call a gap year to travel and to learn about the world before he goes on to what he decides to do in terms of college or anything else. And we're going to hear from Sky as this presentation goes on, because I guarantee he's a lot closer to the people we are in charge of their education than I am. And if you care about how old I am, you just need to take out your phone and type in Marc Prensky age, and you can find that out. So, happy birthday, Sky. We're going to talk about reframing. Reframing is what I do, help you think about things in new ways that you haven't perhaps considered before. And I hope you'll leave with some new ideas and new thinking, and that we will get into incredible dialogues about the future and about our young people, because it's young people that I care most about. I'm going to make this 3 parts. I'm going to start out with how the world has changed and what our new age is like. I'm going to talk about our new job as educators, and I'm going to talk about how we can do our new job. But before I start, I'd like to know who you are a little bit more. How many of you are teachers? Okay. How many of you are technical people of one sort or another? How many of you are administrators of schools? How many of you are policymakers? You are very important people. And how many of you, I don't know who all the people in the back are who haven't raised their hands, what you do. How many of you are parents? Okay, now we have a lot more parents. And last question, how many of you are under the age of 20? I see 1 hand in the back. Congratulations, 2 hands for being here. This is typical. I go around the world and speak about education, which is of course, all about young people, and there are never any young people in the room. So I recommend that next year, when you have this conference, you invite young people, not just 1 or 2 to speak on stage, but make every adult who comes bring a young person with them, so they can hear each other's perspective. I've done that once or twice. It was fabulous every time we did it. Would somebody say something? Okay. I hope you do. So I'm going to talk about why have we come to this beautiful place, which at the moment we can't see, but it finally turns sunny and we'll be out there and having a good time as soon as this is over. I'm going to talk about our new age. And it's very important because we are at a big turning point in human history. There are 2 huge things happening at once. One is climate change, which we all know about, and we hope that that will resolve itself in a positive way. And the second, which gives us hope that it will, is that human capabilities are changing. And the fact that those two are happening at the same time makes this a very special moment. And I like to think about it as moving from an age of education, where that was really important, to an age of empowerment. And it's time to empower all our young people. And what does empowerment mean? It means, for me at least, three things. I can, I choose, and I accomplish. And you need all of those three to be empowered. And we'll talk about them at the course of this presentation. Because to successfully move to the future, we're going to have to make sure that we change our attitudes about young people. And why are we going to have to do that? Because a lot of people who grew up in the past think that the young people are just little us's. They're like what we were when we were their age, and we treat them like that. But that's not true. They have changed considerably. And let's look at some of the ways they may have changed and the difference in beliefs between older people from the previous generation and sometimes younger people. If you were brought up in the 20th century, which many of us, most of us in this room, in fact, were, maybe all of us, you believe kids can't really accomplish much. We couldn't accomplish all that much when we were young. You might believe learning comes first before you can do everything else. That's why we have so many years of school. You might believe that technology is just a tool. We can use it, not use it. Or that being in person, face-to-face, is always better. And my apologies to the people in the overflow room or who are around the world watching this. The two are now different, equal. We used to believe that the individual came first, that it was do your own work, don't plagiarize, don't look, don't copy. We used to believe that kids needed knowledge from adults, that it was our job to put knowledge into their heads. And we used to believe, and many of us still believe, that education, and when I say education, I mean the way we do it today, pretty much around the world, is really important that it continue. What's the other side? What are the other beliefs? The belief is that young people can. And why? Because they are becoming empowered. So they can do things that young people could never, ever do before. That accomplishing comes first. You don't have to learn everything in advance. You can accomplish first and learn as you do that. That technology is not just a tool, but it's a symbiotic part of being human. More about that. That the earth and cloud are just different, but they're equal. And I just attended a conference from my chair in my living room, and it was one of the best conferences I'd ever been to. Teams and collaboration come first, before the individual. And what kids need from adults is coaching and empowerment. And that education doesn't work. The old education doesn't work. Why? Because there is no accomplishment as part of that. So one set of beliefs is disempowering for young people. The other set of beliefs is more empowering. And when I was at that conference, sitting in my armchair, one of the speakers at that conference was Bill Gates. And we all know who Bill Gates is. And one of the things they asked him was, well, what was it like? You were there at the very beginning of computers coming into schools, and you started using them when you were very young. And how did that go? And here's what Bill Gates said, and it stuck with me, so I decided to share it with you. He said, the teachers found it confusing. We did not find it confusing, and we took over. The rest is history. The rest is Microsoft. The rest is the world we live in. So we have to not be confused, but we have to work together to understand this. And some of this may be unsettling to a lot of people in the world. But we can do this. I assure you we can do this. I know we can do this because we've done it as human beings many times before. Ever since we became Homo sapiens, and that was about 250,000 years ago, the end of biological evolution, various gifts, I call them gifts, have been added to humanity to improve us and rise us up and enhance us. First of those, of course, was speech, so we could communicate. The next one was fire. We tamed fire so we could cook our food and we could keep warm at night and move to more places. We tamed animals so we could move around a lot further. That was another enhancement. We formed agriculture so we could eat more and feed more people and didn't have to become hunter-gatherers all the time. We got social organization, which meant that we could rise from just the family and then the tribe to empires, which we built. We got morality, which helped us get along. We got tools, which helped us build more. We got science, not even that long ago, which helped us understand more. And one of the most recent was writing and print, which we all know made huge changes. And probably the latest big gift that we have gotten was education. Now, all of these were resisted when they first came. I'm sure people didn't want to talk. They were happy to grunt. When it came to writing, Socrates thought writing was terrible. It was only Plato, the geek, who wanted to write things down. Good thing he did. But he thought it would destroy our memories. So every one of these enhancements has its naysayers at the beginning, but each one of them went on to make us better human beings. And the latest one to come to us is, of course, digital. And so I like to think of digital, and I encourage you to think of digital as the latest enhancement to our humanity. A lot of people put people against technology, but no, it's an enhancement to our humanity. Now everybody who has a phone has access to all the information that humans have, everything online. We are all connected with each other, not fully, but on the way to being all connected. And the nicest part is it's become always with us. It's become portable. It's in our pockets. We don't have to, like the old telephones, pull a cord away from the wall. And on top of all that, there's this new thing that's called artificial intelligence, which we're going to hear a lot about this conference. I think the worst thing about artificial intelligence is the name. It's really just more human digital enhancement in new ways that we're still inventing. We're going to have assistants. We're going to have answers from ChatGPT and other things like that. We're going to be able to generate images. Everybody will. We'll be able to have dialogues with historical people, with ourselves. And so this is a new enhancement for humanity. And what's our goal? Why have we come here? Our goal is to help our young people enter this new world of human digital enhancement, prepared and with a better ability to improve their lives and to improve the world that we all live in. That's really why we are here, I hope. You may disagree, but that's my impression of what we need to do. And we, the adults in this room, we are the bridge between the old and the new. We are, you can pat yourself on the back for this, we are the last pre-internet generation the world will ever know. That's who we are. And we are bringing up a new generation that's going to live in a different world of enhanced humans. And let me just show you a little bit about that world. I put this together in a few minutes. Fast forward to the future.
You are the most amazing person I have ever known.
I am a doctor from the United States.
I am a scientist from China.
I am an engineer from Brazil.
I am an athlete from India.
Our cars can send you endless messages instantly.
How are you doing today? I am very well, thank you for asking.
Interviewing himself.
Awesome.
Totally awesome.
So I grew up in a world that was a world of books. I've become an author. I wrote 10 books. I learned how to do that. Not that many people read books anymore. It's very interesting. I had to learn very new ways to communicate with people. And the digital world is very different, except that if you go outside and look around and look at the beautiful coast and look at the trees, it doesn't look all that different. The place where it's different, and this is really important, is underneath. It's in the infrastructure. That's what's changing. We're getting this new digital infrastructure in finance, in healthcare, in transportation, in communication, and now, thanks to Keynote, in education. That's what they have done. They've put new infrastructure into all our schools. Thank you. I don't know if any of you have ever been to a Disney park. Any of you have been to Disney World or Euro Disney or Disneyland? If you go, you'll see this beautiful park with all this magic on top. And underneath, that's all built on a platform. And underneath that platform is what they call the tunnels. And in the tunnels are all the pipes and the wires and the garbage, and that's where all the characters move around. And without that infrastructure, the whole place would not be what it was and what it is. And what we want to do with that infrastructure, I think what everybody wants to do, and I certainly know that young people want to do this, we want to have an impact on the world. You've probably heard the young people like I am say, I want to change the world. Well, I hope they're saying they want to make it better. That's really what we should do, improve the world. And the way we do that, what that means is we do something that they can point to, something directly that they can show you that makes a difference in the world. Before we did this, it wasn't very good or it didn't exist. Now it is different, as you can see. And they can start doing that while they're very young. So Keynote has given us all these great capabilities, these new capabilities. And doing what we did before, now that we have these capabilities, even if we just do it in a slightly different way, is not going to work. It's a different world, and we have to do different things. So we need to believe that we can, we need to make the right choices, and we need to accomplish. And I'm going to talk about all of these beliefs. But they're not just, I can. That's what's really important. Everybody has to think, I can, I choose, I accomplish, but we have to do this together. We can't choose, we can't change if the young people think one thing and the adults think another. If the teachers think one thing and the policymakers think another. We all have to make these choices and move forward together. It's something that we have to do. If we don't, there just won't be any change if we don't do it all together. So let's talk about how we do that and what we need to do. And the first one is the easiest one to talk about in Croatia. And I'm so happy to be here because it's we can, I can, we can, and I know you can. I am Convinced there's evidence all over the world that you can because you just did. Thank you. You got to the top almost of the football world. Terrific. We hope that you'll go even further the next time. But the world stood back and watched the Croatians say, we can. And you did. So I'm very proud of you for that. And now I'm going to talk to Sky. And I'm going to ask Sky a question. Are you injected with the I can belief? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think there can always be more. You're always pushing for more, what you can do. But in this new age, I do think that with the tools of technology and all, I do feel pretty an I can belief.
And what about your peers? Do you think that they also feel that?
I think so. I think it's a very mutual thing. Like when someone yawns, you also yawn. So I think when someone else around you feels an I can belief, you also feel that.
Do you think it's different in your generation from in the past?
I do. I think there's much more confidence able to be portrayed because of the internet and because everyone's much more connected.
Thank you. So remember the goal. The goal is for people like Sky to grow up with a better ability to improve their lives and their world. The next step after you're injected with the I can belief is we need to make some really crucial and important choices. And the choice is not whether we use all these new gifts that Keynote has given us. We don't really have that choice. We can resist. Some people will resist. But eventually, this is going to be used by everybody. The more important choice we need to make is for what will we use it? To what end will we put this? And there, the choice is really between doing the old curriculum, doing the past in new ways, in new slightly digital ways or very digital ways, and doing things we could never do before. And I hope we will do those kinds of things. The conference was billed to a certain extent, and I couldn't read all the Croatian, but I think it was billed as moving to digital maturity in our schools, which is good, and I think we all should. But in a bigger sense, we're not at digital maturity. We're not even anywhere near at digital maturity. We are at digital birth. It is really a very short time. Digital technology is only in its teens, more or less, or its 20s. It's just starting. And in that time, we've put all the information online. We've connected so many people. We've gone mobile, and we've gone to AI. But that's still the very beginning. We're still struggling with fire. We're still struggling with many of these enhancements from the past, and we will struggle with digital forever. But it's the very beginning of a new era. And I, for one, am extremely happy to be alive at this time. Do you agree, Sky? He does. But what's different about this time is we no longer have a need to do what we've done for so long, which is put everything into the heads of people like Sky in advance. Because it's already there. It's already in his pocket. It may not all be in his head. I can guarantee it's not. But it is in his pocket. And the task now is to apply it to getting things done. We don't have to spend all that time putting it into heads. It's not about putting in anymore. That's what we used to do. And we did it for very good reasons, because it was not very easily available. And we hoped that if we put enough into kids' heads, that someday when they grew up, good things would come out. But now it's about bringing those things out earlier. Everybody talks about creativity. Well, that's what creativity is. It's bringing out what's in there. It's not stomping things in and pushing things in and testing whether they're still there. And so, next question is, which is more important? And I'll turn to Sky again. What do you think is more important, Sky? Do you think it's putting things in advance or bringing things out in order to get things done?
I think both are obviously important. Without putting in, you can't bring out. But I do think that we should put an emphasis on bringing out, just because, what is the point of putting everything in if you're not going to get anything out? And I think the best ideas flew from seeing what you can do in a creative way from the material that you get put in.
Thank you. So, thank you, Sky. Okay, you can applaud him. It's his birthday. Here's the issue that I see. The idea of learning in advance. There's nothing wrong with learning. We have to learn in order to do things. But the idea of learning a whole curriculum in advance so that someday we could do something in a world that's so changing so fast that stuff, a lot of it will be obsolete by the time we ever get to use it. That way of doing things is expiring. And it used to be the best we could do. We didn't have the money to give everybody an individual tutor. We had to do it in a batch process. And so we did. But there are 3 big problems with that. The first is that it takes a very long time. 6 years, 8 years, 12 years, in my case, 20 years of school before you can start accomplishing. The second problem is that it doesn't work for everyone. Some people take very well to academics and they love it and they take it in and they use it. Some people don't at all, and they really don't like learning in advance. But the third and most important problem is there's no accomplishment. You can't get anything done when you're young. You're too busy in school learning and taking tests. Now, a lot of people, when I talk like this, ask me, yeah, but what about the basics? Don't kids still need the basics? Don't they need reading and writing and math and science and language and social studies? And I say, yes, they need some of that, and they will for a while. But the basics that young people need are changing, and changing radically in this new world of everything in their pocket. And some of the new basics are getting things accomplished. A new cycle of ABC. Accomplish, better your world, see that it's better, and continue doing that over and over again. And I think that's what those formative years should be about. We want to be able to do the things that the machines don't do well. My abbreviation is LEGO. Love, empathy, gratitude, optimism. So far, we don't see that in the machines. I think that's a much better definition of Lego than a world's biggest toy store. Give and expect trust, respect, independence, collaboration, kindness. This is a friend of mine, Esther Wojcicki, who raised 3 wonderful, very successful daughters. Trick is something that we should give both ways, from top down, from adults to kids, and also from young people to adults. And the last is be prepared for continuous change. We no longer live in a world of repetition, of where you can learn something when you're young and then keep repeating it for the rest of your life as if you were a baker or some other kind of person. We live in a world of continuous change. And remember, our goal is to bring our young people into that world with a better ability to improve their lives and our world. Digital is just the latest enhancement, and again, thank you, Carnet, that's going to help us do that in the world that our young people are going to live in. Which means, in my view, we all have a new job. We have a new job. And I didn't know, maybe not everybody thinks they just got a new job, but we all did. And that new job is not just changing our pedagogy. because we have these new digital enhancements. It's not just doing the same old curriculum in a new digital way. It's real-world accomplishment through continuous projects. That's a much better fit with the world the kids live in. Companies are moving to projects. They don't even have jobs anymore in some companies. They just have project after project after project. Project management is becoming one of the most important skills there is. And why do we want to do this? There's got to be a reason. We do it so that young people can do 3 things at least. Big categories, realize their dreams, and every kid has dreams that I've ever met. Fix problems, and every kid that I've ever met sees problems. They care about some, they may not care about others. It's very individual. And help other people. And again, every young person has certain people that they want to help. Good, that's what they should do. Now our education is all about learning in advance and has no accomplishment whatsoever. Occasional project at the end of a capstone, at the end of a year. But we need to become these project coaches. We need to learn how to take a team of young people who wants to do something and make this happen. Make that project accomplish something and have an impact in the world. And what's nice about this is that we are not the only coaches there could be in the world. Once we look at what the young people need to do this way, well, they can get a coach from almost anywhere. If they're interested in space, they get a coach who knows about space. If they're interested in environment, they can find a coach who knows about environment. Some of them will be our teachers, but we can bring in every adult who has experience anywhere. So, Sky, what do you think is more important? Do you think it's learning in advance? This is more or less the same question we asked before. What about, where does the best learning come? Does it come in advance, or does it come through accomplishing?
I think the best learning comes through accomplishing, just because a lot of what you do in school is, they will teach you in advance and it all adds up to a test. But before you take the test, you start to study, and that's just to recall all the information you already learned, which shows, you didn't retain it too well. But I think when you're doing like a real world project, like, maybe you're working on a car or something like that, if you just learn everything in advance, you're obviously going to be confused when you go in. But if someone is step by step there, you're doing it, and you're putting meaningful value to the information, I think that helps you retain the information a lot better.
Good. Well, those are 2 interesting things. First of all, if you have too much information in advance, you can be confused. And second, you forget a lot of it before you ever start. But now we have a system, and raise your hand if you've ever wanted to figure out how to do something, and you went to YouTube to figure it out. Right? That's what we do these days. We have this stuff on demand when we need it. So one of the things I want to share with you is what I call the 2 ships metaphor. I like metaphors a whole lot, and because this is Croatia and we're at the ocean and the cruise ships are a big deal, I want to talk about 2 cruise ships. They're both nice. Both of them were outfitted by Carnet with all this new technology. And the question is, which one will we sail on? Each of us has to make that choice. I'm going to give them names. One is the SS sailing ship Tradition, and the other is the SS Future. So which one are you going to sail on? Let's look at what they offer. If you sail on the SS Tradition, well, it's traditional. The aim will be to produce and measure learning. There'll be a preset time. It'll take a semester or a year, and a preset itinerary. It'll go from math to language to science to social studies and back again. The daily program will be preset. There'll be bells ringing all over that ship every hour or so telling you to move from one thing to another. You've got to attend everything that you've signed up for all the time. It will be full of books, because that's what Tradition is. It will have as many books as they can put on board, but not so many individual personal devices. In fact, in some places, they won't let you use those devices. They'll say, we have all the devices you need. Use our devices. You'll end up on this ship pretty much where you started, at your home port. That's what the cruise ships do in traditional ways. And when you come back to port, they'll give you a diploma that says, you completed this cruise. Congratulations. Okay, and the sister ship of the SS Tradition is the SS Learn and Advance. What if you make the other choice and you decide to sail on the SS Future, whose sister ship is Real World Accomplishment? Well, the first thing is you'll have a different aim. Your aim will not be learning, it will be to produce real world accomplishment. Not just on the ship, but off the ship, where you go. The time and itinerary will be variable. It will depend on the people who take the cruise. It's set by the passengers. In fact, you can do anything as long as you can show us that it makes a positive impact on the world, and we'll connect you to people on other ships who want to make similar impact. The activities will all be done in teams based on affinity. So the teams may be on the ship, they may be on the rest of the world. There will be no books on the ship whatsoever. There will be everything ever written electronically. Every movie ever made, anything that exists will be there electronically. You will therefore require your own personal device, and the best one that you can get your hands on. You can end up anywhere. You might discover a place where you like to be that's better. That's where you'll end up. And when you finish, they won't give you a diploma. They'll give you a resume of what you accomplished when you were on that ship. So which one are you going to sail on? That's up to everybody to choose the tradition or the future. You know which one I would recommend. Sky, what do you think? Would you prefer to sail on the SS Tradition or the SS the Future?
Personally, I see the benefits of both, but I think the future, just because you don't want to be stuck in the past or anything. And I also don't like physical books, but yeah, I would like the future.
Okay. And I think most young people will choose to sail on the future. So if we go the other way, we may not have any passengers who are under the age of 20, which would kind of be too bad. But here's something really important to understand. Neither ship is going to improve our PISA scores. And if that's your goal, if you think that the goal of what education does is make a country's PISA scores go up in those charts, neither of these ships is going to do that. And how do I know that? I know that from my own country's experience. In the United States, we spent a lot of time doing what Carnet did for you. We put technology into all our schools. We had this huge digital enhancement program. Our scores didn't go up. In some cases, they went down. And what's even more interesting to me is that the places that got to the top of PISA, the Singapores, the Estonias, the Finlands, parts of China, they're all looking for new ways. They understand that you don't have to do that. You may have heard that in Singapore they made some big changes. In Finland they made some big changes. So scores are really the wrong goal. If you need scores, now don't get me wrong, I understand that there's a system and kids take tests and they have to get scores and that's all important. We have this wonderful thing for you that's now enabled by Carnet. It's called test preparation software. And that's what we use in America. If you have to pass the Scholastic Aptitude Test or any of these tests, you get the software, you use it, and the more you use it, the better you score on those tests. And that's all you have to do. The right goal, the goal that we want to be working on, is real-world accomplishment through projects. And people knew this a long time ago. This is from the 18th century. This is Thomas Carlyle, who said, nothing builds self-esteem and self-confidence like accomplishment. And I hope that's what we want for all our young people. So we come to that last piece. I can, I choose, I accomplish, and we accomplish. And how do we do that? Because that's not something we do now. I think a far better way to bring up young people is for them to find what they believe, to find their unique value, to find new connections and 21st century powers. That's important for them to do, especially at the beginning, but then apply those things while they're still young to accomplishment with positive impact in the world and to meaningful work that creates value and adds value to humanity. That's what young people want to do, and as a result of that, they realize their own positive dreams, which so many times today get stamped on and don't get realized. And they do it for themselves, for their families, for their country, for their world. So accomplishment, what I mean by that, is students doing real-world projects, not academic projects, not school projects, real-world projects that have a measurable, visible, positive impact. If you have a school in a particular area, you'd like to see that area getting better because of what the students are doing. Not all of them working on that, but that certainly should be a result. The world should be getting better. Croatia should be getting better if kids were all doing these kind of projects. They'd be realizing their dreams, fixing the problems they see, and helping others. It happens at all ages. This is already happening all over the world. You can start as young as 3 years old, and very successfully, you can do it through secondary and high school and through university and college. And if you want, I'll share with you a lot of these projects. I don't have time to do it all now, but it can happen in all sorts of categories, like helping others, improving the world, helping your peers, assisting government, adding to the world's knowledge, and all those United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, those 17 goals, which you've probably all heard about, which for me are really nothing but a big list of our generation's epic fails. They're fails. We don't have enough clean water. We don't have enough air. We don't have enough this. We don't have enough that. We need to do projects that fix these things. And the ultimate goal, in my view, is we want to make Croatia the place where employers and others come to know they can find people who know how to get things done, people who have accomplished, because that's how we all brought them up. So how do we get there? Well, I think the way is we sail on the SS Future. And we create something that I formed a generic name for called empowerment hubs. They're places, whether they're in schools or online or on the other buildings on the weekends, where young people go and they accomplish project after project after project. And this exists in the world. There are thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of these projects that have been done in countries all over the world. So here are some very specific recommendations. We need to maximize the use of this technology by all the students every day for everything that they do. And especially do it through the mobile phones, because that is what they have. That's what's going to be used for the rest of their lives. It's a freedom. They now can take the world's information and connections, and it's portable. And again, if they need to pass tests, there's test preparation software. We need to focus them on realizing dreams and fixing problems and helping others. We need to figure out things that humans, especially young humans, have never been able to do before. What kinds of things are those? They are mostly connect with others around the world. Find the people around the world who share your interests, the affinity groups around the world. Accomplish things in the real world. Make a measurable positive impact on everything that you do. Right now we think about scores, we think about grades. No, what's your impact? Show me the impact that you've made. And the way we do that is you say, see that was bad or it didn't exist. And now because of what we did, look at how much better it is. It's visible. And finally, make sure that all the young people in Croatia, as they grow up, can accomplish, can get things done in the world, that realize their dreams, that fix the problems we see, that help others. This has nothing to do with what's called project-based learning. There's a thing called PBL in the world, and people no, that are all academic projects. We're talking real world fixing and improving and making that real world better. So, Sky, what do you think? Is that what young people want in the world?
I think so, yeah. I think everyone, wants to make an impact in the world somehow. We all want to make the world a better place, I hope.
Have you done any of these real world impacting projects in school?
In school, not so much. I don't think the last one I can remember is like planting in a garden in my school, but that's not that big of a scope.
And what grade were you in when you made a garden?
Maybe like 7th grade.
Okay, in middle school. Okay, what about outside of school?
I think outside of school it's a lot easier because you can kind of explore what your passions are and similar. So I know that me and my friends, some of us were part of a group called Surf Rider, which is about ocean ecology. So we do beach cleanups and similar. So we talk about that, so yeah.
Any other kinds of projects that you'd personally like to do?
I just think projects that I'm interested in and that I can think make an impact.
For example, what might that be?
Maybe we're starting to do like water sampling in Surf Rider, so sampling water and making sure that animals have healthy environments to live in.
Good. And I know you're into flying because I'm your dad. So I know that he flies small airplanes. But this is not something that we're used to. So we need help. Where can we get help? What resources do we have? Well, the number one resource is what brings us to this conference, is Carnet. They're here to help you do this and go in these directions, carnet.hr. There are databases of the thousands of projects that have been done. Many of them are documented in video. You can see the huge variety of projects that young people have done all over the world. This Design for Change, you can take a picture of the URLs. Design for Change exists in 65 countries. And there's going to be a session on Friday, which I encourage you to all attend, about Design for Change and what they do. I made a database at one point because I was amazed that it didn't exist, of what I called Better Their World projects. I've got 100 projects in there of all different kinds, and that you can find on your mobile phone or online. And then there are books, and I've written some of them, but I'm not the only one who writes books. And some of these books are online, and they're free, and other ones will be given out as prizes for this AI challenge that you're going to do as part of the conference. So, as we come to the close of this talk, Sky, tell us a little bit about your experience. Now, Sky goes to what is academically the best public high school in California. It's ranked number 1, and all the colleges know that. And he was late every day. We lived next door. He was late every day. But Sky, what was your experience like there? What did you think of Gunn in high school?
I thought that school was, I don't know, to describe it, me and a lot of my friends, we would go to school and be very stressed out just because of the levels of, academic achievement that they expected. A lot of the time, it's constantly, if you're not studying and you're not getting the best test scores, what are you doing? People will make fun of you and things like that. And I think it was a little not so great just because it's focusing on things that you personally don't really care about that much but are kind of forced into you. A lot of the stuff that I learned I can't tell you a lot of the stuff that I learned just because I don't really care about it and I don't remember it. But I think that overall, it's a good experience because it allows you to connect with a lot of people, young people. But I do think that maybe some of it can be tailored better to the person.
What would you like to see more of and less of?
I think more of just kind of being able to explore and, like you said, like projects and stuff like that, things that you care about. Just because a lot of what you learn is not going to be applicable to you when you go out and get a job. And you know, they have all this. You go to high school so that you can get into a good college, and then from there you have to choose your career. And then when you get into your career, you have to get training on your career. And I feel like that just takes a really, really long time. And there's a lot more potential that you can do when you're in school, when you're young, because you have all this time that you're learning things that you don't really care about. But I think if you try to apply yourself to things that you really care about, like projects, then that can do better.
Thank you. So here are the things that I want you to remember. And I encourage you, if you want to remember them, to do what we can now do, which is take out your phone, if you haven't already done so, and just take pictures of these slides as they come forth. The first is that we're moving from the age of education to the age of empowerment. And that's really a different kind of age. And in that age, what makes us unique are the personal projects that we choose to do. Somebody said this to me not that long ago, and I finally realized it's not how you look, it's not what you wear, it's not even what you think, it's what you do that makes you a unique person in the world. And what empowers us is doing those things and knowing that if there is something we want to do, we can do it. The goal, again, is to bring our kids into this new world so that they have a better ability to improve their own lives and world. In order to help them succeed in their future, not our future, we all need right things, which I talked about before. We've just been given these enormous tools that are enhancing our humanity. Not everybody looks at it that way yet, but that in the long term is what is going on. We have a new job, which is not to just teach the old curriculum in different ways, but to do things that young people could never do before. It's not just putting things into their heads. You heard from Sky, most of that stuff is either stressful or you forget it, or both. It's about bringing out what all these people have as possibilities so that they can realize their dreams and fix our problems and help other people. And the ultimate goal is to make our country, and ultimately the whole world, but not everybody's going to get there at the same speed, the place where employers and other people come to find the people who can accomplish, to find the people who can get things done. You have this enormous opportunity to help your students do things that they could never do before. Come up here, Sky. We are so glad to be with you in Croatia. We're so proud of you. We hope you will all choose to sail on the SS Future. We salute you. Have a good conference.
Thank you, Mark, for this interesting lecture. Before we let you go, we have some questions. Our colleague Goran Škvarč will host a short Q&A session.
Hello, Goran.
Hello, Mark. So now you got me thinking, am I doing something wrong? because I have a son who is 6 years old, and I do buy him books. And I understand that he's a digital native. Sorry. Better? Okay. So you got me thinking, am I doing something wrong? I have a child who is 6 years old, and I do buy him books.
And the reason you buy him books is for you.
Probably.
Because he can do the same things that he needs to do. He could do that online. Does he have access to a phone or a tablet or any other?
He has his own.
Those books are all there. So the fact that you buy him physical books is just taking up space on your bookshelf. And somebody once said to me, who makes the most money in the world from books?
Carpenters.
Movers.
Movers.
Movers. Because we take our books, we keep them, we never look at them again, but we move them from house to house because we think they're so important. We have to get over that to live in a new world, is my view.
Okay, my second question is about the AI. Many people in this room are in educational business, and there is a concern that the students will now start submitting papers written by AI, not by themselves. My question is, what do you think? Can AI detect the AI-written paper, or is it still a human job?
The answer that I just heard from somebody who knows a lot about this is no. There's no way to detect. Eventually, if the young person does a good job, if they don't put somebody else's name on the paper or the AI name this was written by. But so what's important is not writing papers anymore in the old way. It's figuring out what can we do as technology-assisted people, technology-enhanced people, that really improves us, shows other people what we can do. It used to be papers, but no, a lot of places don't do that. And the comment that really got to me by this gentleman who's at one of the universities in the US, he said, you know what we can do with AI? We can do things 10 times faster. So in a 4-week course, I can get 10 times as much done because I have all my students use AI than I could before. All of these things, you can say to the thing, well, make me a business plan and write me a this and write me an investor plan. And many things that we used to have to do ourselves that took a lot of time, we have an assistant. And so that's, I think, what's going to happen more and more.
Okay, but my last question, what is the purpose of the classroom in that case? If all the data, all the information, all the knowledge is online and on the devices, what is the role of the classroom?
Well, what kids say they like, if you talk to kids all over the world, they like to be with their friends. So the social part of school is a big thing. Classrooms are very artificial. It's a batch process. We set it up because we couldn't afford to give every kid a tutor. So we put them into rooms in a batch process. It's an imperfect process because, as every teacher knows, you've got some people who are behind, some people who are ahead, a few people you're talking to in the middle. The classroom is not a good way. That's why we keep looking for different ways and different things to do in it, because it's really not an effective solution, and especially now that we're enhanced with all these digital tools.
Well, that's it for today. Let's call it today. Thank you very much.
I hope everybody appreciates this opinion. I will be here all day today and tomorrow. If you want to discuss, I would love to have a conversation with anybody here, and especially with those people who set policy. Nice to meet all of you. Thank you. Okay, we're done.